Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to continue my segments on analysing the Necron Codex. Today I'm going to look at the Destroyer Lord. Now, not a unit I've actually used in the game, but certainly I'm a bit more interested now that I have had a bit more of an in-depth look at. So basically how this works, I'm going to have a look at the unit itself, look at stats, war gear and special abilities that you'd find in the Codex. Once after that, I have a look at loadout suggestions that might be useful, artifacts of the Aeons might be helpful, dynasty codes are good, warlord traits and stratagems you might find of use. With that, let's have a look at the Destroyer Lord. So Destroyer Lord's movement is 10. So pretty fast for Necrons, you know, double that of what most infantry is, but that's what you'd see on a Destroyer. Weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+. Now that is the same as an average Necron Lord. What I feel with the Destroyer Lord is that it's a weird combination of being combat, being not combat. Yeah, I just feel that although a Lord may be a buff character to an Overlord, a Destroyer Lord, to me should have been at least weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. From one of its abilities that may have been a wee bit much to ask for. But I think what you maybe want as a differentiated role in the Necron Codex, that would have been really, really useful. So I'm a bit disappointed it's not at least weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. Strength 5, which is average for Necron HQs, bar obviously the Cryptek and other support things like that. Toughness 6, which is quite nice, tougher than most other characters, and I think I can simply put that down to the fact as it's kind of on a bike. You know, like bike units, they kind of sort of get +1 toughness. So yeah, a bit more tough, but toughness 6 does mean that you need to be at least strength 12 to wound it on 2s, or be a pesky, you know, blood angel and you charge in or whatever, then you're probably going to wound in 2s or maybe 3s or something. Still, kind of handy in that one. Wounds 6, so again lots of wounds, which can be very helpful for many of its abilities though, so having that plethora of wounds is quite good. Attacks 4, so more attacks than any other sort of, you know, average. It's more than the Overlord as well. It's got more toughness, got more wounds, more attacks. That's kind of an interesting turn. Leadership 10, Necron, and 3+ save. Well, it's kind of a bike character, so a 3+ save I suppose is acceptable. There's not many access to 2+ saves even as the characters, unless they're special characters in the Necron Codex. So an interesting stat line, certainly having the extra toughness, wound and attack makes an interesting choice, a little bit more pushing me to say become a bit more aggressive with it. So it is armed with a Staff of Light. We know the Staff of Light quite well. It can take a Hyperphase Sword, Voidblade or War Scythe, which I'll go into more details on these a bit later, and it may take either Phylactery or a Resurrection, or Phylactery being individual to the Destroyer Lord. It's got Living Metal, so at the start of its turn it is going to recover 1 wound. Hooray! Hardwired Hatred, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this model. Now, interesting one on that is the fact that, you know, hey, cool, you know, in combat and also shooting, if you're Staff of Lighting it, you can reroll those hit rolls. So it's kind of like your Captain in a way, but it's only, I think Captain's hit on like 2s, so you know, you'd want this to hit on 2s as well and get that reroll 1s, and there's an aura ability. Bit disappointing on that side, but fine. You know, it just means instead of 2s reroll 1s in your combat, your 3s reroll 1s, you just don't want to roll 2s, which I am all famous for. United in Hatred, you can reroll wound rolls of 1 in the shooting phase for this model and models from friendly Dynasty Destroyers and Dynasty Heavy Destroyers within 6 inches. So there's your aura ability, and very specific. It is targeting purely Destroyers and Heavy Destroyers, and it is essentially reroll 1s in the shooting phase only. Now, Lord does achieve all that at a cheaper cost than itself. You know, reroll wound rolls of 1 for friendly Dynasty Infantry, which that would affect, you know, Destroyers and Heavy Destroyers nonetheless. So it's a bit of an interesting one, that one. I'll never say reroll 1s to wound or wound augments is a bad thing, because I find wounds are harder to augment in this game than hit rolls. Hit rolls go up and down all the time, but wound rolls not so much. So it is handy, but a Lord, you know, although Lord may struggle to keep up with Destroyers, Destroyer Lord will not, it has a lot more points. Phase Shifter, this model has a 4-up invul, so it's going to last longer than a Lord. Also has Phylactery. A model with Phylactery regains D3 lost wounds at the beginning of your turn rather than 1 for living metal. So that's a huge endurance boost on that one as well. Toughness 6, 6 wounds, and recovers D3 instead of 1 wound. That is quite nice. And then Resurrection Orb. If a model has a Resurrection Orb, once per battle, immediately after you have made your Reanimation Protocol rolls, at the beginning of your turn, you can make Reanimation Protocol rolls for models from a friendly Dynasty Infantry unit within 3 inches from this model. So you can get a second chance at reanimation if you're so inclined. This is probably going to be destroyers, so you can possibly get more destroyers back. So let's look at the loadout for this one. It's a bit of an interesting one here. So let's go into the weapons. I've said it before, so straight away I'm going to discount the Hyperphase Sword and the Void Blade. I've said it many times before, I discount them mainly because they are damage 1. You may be able to get, with the Void Blade an extra attack, giving you 5 attacks. It's a bit more tempting, but still 1 damage is not ideal. And then Hyperphase Sword brings you to Strength 6, which I generally do not find ideal, which I'm not kind of game for. So, that leaves us with Staff of Light and the War Scythe, and of course Relics, but I'll go into that a bit later. Staff of Light is always a good option. Maybe short range, but Destroyer Lord is a quick unit, so you can probably get in range, no problem. And he's most likely buffing a range unit, destroyers. However, the range of destroyers in Staff of Light vary quite a wee bit from 12 to 24, and you want to keep your destroyers well out of combat range. So having a Staff of Light seems a bit redundant here, you're not really going to use it. The War Scythe, on the other hand, is a much more formidable combat opponent. You have an extra attack at 4 attacks over, say, things like your Overlords and your Lords. You have an extra toughness and a wounds more than them. You still only hit on 3s, but you do get to reroll 1s, so that's kind of nice in that one. So generally you're looking at this being a not bad combat monster. You are extremely tough, you've got more attacks, and certainly the War Scythe can do a bit more damage. Would have loved if it was damage 3, which you can get a possibility through a relic, but that endurance does mean you're going to work as a really good backfield buffer to destroyers. And then if an opponent tries to drop in something a bit scary, you can maybe throw in the Destroyer Lord and act a bit more defensively for them, because those destroyers aren't going to be able to defend themselves, though they can float away through fly and shoot things down. The Destroyer Lord can help them in combat to try and fight back. So when it comes to war gear in that one, I would definitely go for a War Scythe. Resurrection Orb versus Phylactery. Personally, I'm going to say Phylactery. I don't know its points off the top of my head, but I think that being able to recover D3 wounds rather than 1 is going to actually probably pay off a bit more here. Sure that, resurrecting, 1 or 2 extra destroyers is going to be handy, or having a chance to, with the Resurrection Orb, but you may fail to bring back any. Well, the Phylactery is certainly, hopefully, unless you're killed straight out, it's going to bring back more wounds, which is very, very handy. So let's speak about artifacts, and hopefully for the last time, because I think I'm kind of out of HQs. For last time, the Veil of Darkness. Once per battle at the end of your movement phase, the bearer can use the Veil of Darkness. When they do, the bearer and 1 friendly Dynasty Infantry unit, remember that destroyers are, as far as I'm aware, infantry, within 3 inches of the bearer are removed from the battlefield. Then set up the bearer and the second unit you choose, if any, anywhere in the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy models, and the second unit must be placed wholly 6 inches away from the bearer. Are you surprised? Of course not. I would say less useful in Destroyer Lord than anything else, because you have fly, so you have the ability to get away. You're buffing destroyers, which have fly, so they can get away as well. Still, the benefit of the Veil of Darkness, it can never really be doubted, is mobility. Mobility is just good. So fantastic for a low mobile army. The Destroyer Lord can fly out of danger, and so can destroyers. So whether it's going to be helpful or not, kind of difficult in that one, but it is probably the one I like the best. However, an interesting one as well is the Narrow Scarab Casket. Models with the Phylactery only, which, just to say, the Destroyer Lord, as far as I'm aware, is the only character in the Codex that can have Phylactery. So destroyers only. The Nano Scarab Casket replaces the bearer's Phylactery. So that's the thing that allows it to D3 living metal wounds rather than just 1. The bearer of the Nano Scarab Casket regains D3 lost wounds at the beginning of your turn rather than 1 for the living metal ability. So far, so Phylactery. In addition, the bearer also gains D3 lost wounds at the beginning of your opponent's turn. The first time the bearer is slain, roll a d6. On a 4+, set the bearer up again at the end of the phase, as close as possible to the previous position, going 1 inch from an enemy unit with d6 wounds remaining. Is that right? D6 wounds remaining, you get all that back for a relic? I'm going to double check that because that seems a bit much. Yeah, sure is. So what the heck, you know, why did this just have to be on a Destroyer Lord? Can you imagine this on a Catacomb command barge? I mean, it would be insane, and I'd field one just about every time. Though saying that, Catacomb command barge doesn't have an invul save, which you'd lose out on, versus Destroyer Lord, which does have an invul save, so difficult on that one. Still, this will keep a Destroyer Lord continuing for a fair wee while. Add on a Warlord trait we'll talk about later on, and then maybe a certain stratagem, and it'll just keep your opponent going, why won't you die? So yeah, for once I'd go, yeah, if I want to go combat and just troll some opponents, Narrow Scarab Casket sounds like a fun idea. Voidblade, so this is actually viable for a Destroyer Lord if you want to choose a Narrow, if you don't want to choose a Narrow Scarab Casket, and go for something a little bit more offensively rather than defensively. So I'll just read out what the Void Reaper does. Models with War Scythe or Void Scythe only. Void Reaper replaces the bearer's War Scythe or Void Scythe and has the following profile. Just to let you know, War Scythe is cheaper than Void Scythe, and I think that's mainly when you're going Overlord. You'd always choose the War Scythe and save yourself like a couple of points. The War Scythe. So, Void Reaper, melee, strength, star, -4 AP and 3 damage. Finally, a weapon. It's 3 damage in combat. -4 AP is pretty good as well. This weapon wounds on a 2+ unless it's targeting a vehicle unit, in which case it has a strength of 7. So being able to wound things on 2+ straight off the bat, -4 AP and D3 with 3 damage on a 4 attack model. So essentially you've got a possibility of doing 4 times 3, 12 damage a turn is pretty darn good. If you're facing Tyrannids, you can run up to some of those big things and cause a fair bit of damage. Though if they're going to cause D6 damage, maybe be a wee bit wary of them. But still, reliable 3 damage, I'd argue, is fantastic. Sometimes I prefer that over D6 damage because you just get the reliability. There's that problematic time you roll a bunch of 1s, you're like, oh. But when you get that many attacks and you're all doing 3 damage at -4 AP, pretty darn cool. And strength 7 is still pretty nice as well. So if you want to be a bit more offensive than defensive, the Void Reaper is kind of good. Replace that War Scythe. But the Narrow Scarab Casket, I need to try that at some point. That sounds like a tough one. Put that on with Lich Guards, it'd be hilarious. Dynasty codes. So I feel dynasty codes, I've mentioned this before, don't benefit the HQs as much as they benefit the units, though there is 1 or 2 here that do benefit the Destroyer Lord. But still, I cannot wait to get into some of the units and start talking about these in a bit more detail. Novok, Awakened by Murder. You can reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase for units with this code if they were charged, performed a heroic intervention this turn. My go-to play to, similarly, because overall I really like, you know, sort of combat. Necrons, it's my thing. And I think it's an interesting choice for Destroyer Lord. It's increased mobility for attacks, good toughness, good wounds. Can mean it can do quite well in combat. Alright, you're already rerolling 1s. So, you know, it's only the 2s you're getting to reroll essentially. But yeah, not bad. You want to make sure every one of those attacks do connect. So, not bad. But you're already rerolling 1s, so not great. Nefric, I pronounce it wrong every time. Translocation means if a unit with this code advances, add 6 to its move characteristic for that movement phase instead of rolling a dice. If a unit with if the unit is being affected by my Will Be Done or Wave of Command ability, add 7 to its move characteristic instead. In addition, if a unit with this code advances, it can move across models and train as if they were not there. Not bad, you know, that's a combat thing, so it's nice that it gets to be extremely mobile. Essentially, you'd be able to move 17 inches with it, which can be scary. But again, I find this is a very specialist dynasty code and very tricky to pull off. I personally find it too tricky. I prefer to more gun down rather than take this one, but I know a few people have said it can be very, very good to give you very good board control. So yeah, not bad. Warlord traits. Now, this is where it can be very good for Destroyer Lord. You know, so start off with Enduring Will. Reduce any damage inflicted on your Warlord by 1 to a minimum of 1. For example, if your warlord fails a saving throw for an attack that inflicts 3 damage, they will lose 2 wounds. Very useful in Destroyer Lord with 4+ invul in the Narrow Scarab Casket. Watch as your opponent's frustrated to bring you down. Toughness 6, wounds 6, recovering a shed load of wounds, you know, D3 possibly at the start of your turn, Narrow Scarab D3 at the start of your opponent's turn, reducing all those damages by 1. What more could you ask for? If only you could hit on 2+, and with a weapon that caused 3 damage, that wasn't a relic, that would be so good. You know, just give us another, you know, stick on Void Blades on Destroyer Lords and see them just rocking about. Welcome to the Smash Captain, but you know, only the Overlord gets that Void Scythe. But hey, whatever. Mortal Pride. Friendly Dynasty units automatically pass morale tests while they're within 6 inches of Warlord. In addition, your Warlord can attempt to deny 1 psychic power in each enemy phase, psychic phase in the same manner as a Psyker. My go-to Warlord trait bar none, though a couple exceptions, I might say that every single one. We do favour large units of Necrons, so Necron Warrior 20-man blob. One survives, and you know they're going to run away, but this guy keeps them round and you resurrect a whole bunch of Necron Warriors. Fantastic, you know, that's pretty good. Does it work so well with Destroyer Lord? Sure, you know, it's not likely that you're going to fail morale with Destroyers. Your opponent's probably going to likely just like pile in the shots to ensure they're dead, rather than rely on you know, morale to do it, but it can be handy nonetheless. This is really just about to keep more of your backfield Necron Warriors and possibly Immortals kicking about longer. So yeah, not bad. If I'm going to play Destroyer Lords, I haven't really tried one yet, but I'm certainly going to try one, I'm going to be a bit more aggressive, I feel. So whether this one will be more useful, maybe not. In Placeable Conquer, you can reroll failed charge rolls for friendly Dynasty units while they're within 6 inches of your Warlords. Again, super useful if you are going Novuk, just to make sure you're getting reliable charges. I like it, but really again, it depends on your playstyle. I think it's very useful for Destroyer Lord as it can keep up with good offensive units and give them this buff. You know, high mobility is the key to this one. So for instance, if you're going with Wraiths with their Dynasty, charge on forward and he can help ensure that they do make their charge. Looking at Novuk ones, he's going along, chop chop, it's going to be fun. So yeah, you know, that could be really, really handy in that one. The mobility just being absolutely key there, and him going along with them to reroll charges and get stuck in combat as well. Very, very handy. Hyperlogical Strategist Sutek. Once per battle, you can reroll a single hit, wound, or damage roll for your Warlord. In addition, if your army is battle forged and your Warlord is on the battlefield, roll a d6 each time you spend a command point. Choose a stratagem on a 5+, that command point is immediately refunded. So that extra reroll is going to probably be used by a Destroyer more than anywhere else, sort of. Meaning you already reroll 1, so that's going to happen. Your damage is not really random, so that's not going to happen there. And your wound rolls, well yeah, you are going to be random there. You can't, unless you're shooting them with Staff of Light. In combat you don't have a reroll there. So yeah, you are probably going to get use of that one more than anything else. But for hopefully last time, I still find due to me usually going into battle with Necrons only having 4 or 5 command points, that recovering 1 or 2 is just not ideal. I would much rather go with one of the other more, just the other Warlord traits. You know, I'm heavily looking to, is Enduring Will? Yeah, Enduring Will I'm really digging when it comes to this one because, you know, it makes you a lot more defensive in a lot of regards, and when you're offensive and your problem to bring down, that's really cool. Crimson Haze, Novuk. Each time you roll an unmodified hit roll of 6 in the fight phase for a model in a friendly Novuk unit, that unit is within 6 inches of your Warlords, you can make 1 additional hit roll for that model with the same weapon against the same target. These additional hits cannot themselves generate any further hit rolls. So we almost got Death to the False Emperor, almost. We have plenty of ways to augment hit rolls, so it could have been much higher chance to get this. So I'm a bit disappointed on that one. Simply put, Destroyer Lord, yeah, this is pretty good. Now, it's only per model, not per unit. So even if you're within 6 inches of one model, it's not going to affect the whole unit. But Destroyer Lord is very fast, so it should hopefully affect all the models in a unit and keep up with them, meaning that your unit should be able to get the buffs. So yeah, not a bad one. Extra attacks is always a good thing. Chuck it in with Scabs and Wraiths, plenty of bases, plenty of extra attacks hopefully. So that is really good. Stratagem recommendations, this is a tricky one. Again, I believe that Necrons have some of the very specialist ones where it's like Catan this, Night Scythe that, etc, etc. The general ones are a bit trickier. So we're going to go with, of course, Resurrection Protocols. 1 command point, use a stratagem when a Necron character from your army, excluding Transient and Infinite, and Catan shards are slain. At the end of that phase, roll a d6, on a 4+, set that character up again, as close as possible to his previous position, more than 1 inch away from enemy models with 1 wound remaining. This stratagem cannot be used to resurrect the same model more than once per battle. So, how to troll your opponents with this one. Have all the survivable stuff mentioned. You know, you've got your Nanoscarb Casket, you've got your Enduring Will, I believe it's Enduring Will, the one that reduces damage, you've got your 4+ invul, you're having a good time. You know, so I believe the way to do it is you roll for the stratagem to see if you come back. Great, cool, you're back 1 wound, it's on to the next turn, you're recovering D3 wounds, you're like, haha, I'm not dying, you recover more wounds, and then they kill you again, and you're like, ah, you got me again. So you die again, and then you go, I'm going to use the relic, because the relic doesn't say you can't be resurrected twice. Correct me if one of the FAQs say, nope, you can't do Resurrection Protocol. You can't do the relic after you've done Resurrection Protocol, but I believe you can't do Resurrection Protocol after you've done the relic, because it says that you can't resurrect the same model more than once per battle, but you can do it after with the casket. You know, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, or if that's bad, but simply put, you know, you can resurrect twice that way, as long as you do the stratagem first, then the casket, and you recover wounds, and you reduce damage, and you have a 4+ invul, and you don't die, and your opponent's just go down already. It can be quite funny. So lastly, we've got Entropic Strike, 1 command point, use a stratagem in the fight phase before a Necron character from your army fights. Invul saves cannot be taken against the first close combat attack made by this character in this phase. This can be useful for things that are hard to hit, so you know the Voids, the Void Scythe, the Voids, oh forgive me for looking at it last thing, the Void Reaper, yeah, this could be good because it does have 3 damage, you are 3 to hit, rerolling 1, so if you roll that Dreaded 2, then you know you're not getting through that invul. Yeah, it can be good. I just find that it's not the most reliable to get through, and you're not doing enough damage to truly warrant it. Simply put, there's going to be times where you need to ensure you get as much damage through. That Smash Captain needs to die, that something needs to suffer 2 to 3 wounds. You don't want that invul stopping it. Yeah, that Entropic Strike can be good, but I just feel it's a little bit underwhelming. So that's it for the Destroyer Lord, a unit I've never used before, and you know what, I'm definitely at some point, not sure when, gonna give it a try. Simply put, I'm gonna try for combat. You know, I'm gonna jump in there, find some opponents, just see what I can smash apart. Maybe put on Enduring Will, maybe give it a Nanoscarb Casket, watch my opponent try and kill it and go, why won't you die, why won't you die? Yeah, gonna give it a try. I think it works for buffing destroyers, but I might just push on forward and just try and attack a little bit more. Who knows? Love to hear your opinion on the Destroyer Lord. Please comment, share, like and subscribe. Let us know, have you played it? Has it worked quite well for you? Very intrigued to see what you guys think. Check us out on social media as well to see some projects we are working on, as well as on Patreon to help support the channel, bring you more content, because I absolutely love doing so. So thanks again, and we'll see you on another Tabletop Assault Battle Report.